Once again, I want to thank the panelists for joining us today, and thanking Ashley and John and Keith and NEDPA for allowing us to share this information. So thanks for coming, guys.
As Joel said, I'm Ashley Randall, and I'm our Member Services Director for the Northeast Dairy Producers Association. We are a member-driven organization representing farms across the Northeast region. We also have affiliate and associate members, and some of our focus areas are labor, environmental issues, animal well-being, worker safety, and other issues that are relevant to the industry and timely. I'm very excited today to have two of our board of directors with us, John Patterson and Keith Kimball. And at this time, I'll just let them introduce themselves and give a little background about their involvement with NEDPA.
Thank you, Ashley. So I'm John Patterson from Patterson Farms, 1,200 cow dairy, just the other side of the lake over here in Cayuga. I'm sixth generation dairy farmer, and I've been on the board about 5 years now. When I first got into agriculture, I went to the NEDPA conference back in '94 and met a lot of people from the industry, and I found that was very, it gets you enthused about the industry, I guess is what I'm trying to say, that there's a lot of good-minded people who are looking at the industry, trying to take us forward, and to interact with those kind of people and help you with things from any day-to-day operational things to trying to figure out how to deal with low milk price. It's all the networking with other people has been a very good part of what the NEDPA conferences have been good for to me. Same with like the operation managers and the people that other conference that we do. That's been good for all the other people at different layers, different levels of our farm, for middle managers, or even the CAFO Roadshow, where we'll come out and do these meetings where we'll train people on how to apply manure and how to keep manure out of the lakes and out of the streams, and the right way to manage our nutrients. The OSHA piece with that has been very helpful for our dairy. Since the LEP came through and OSHA started coming on to some of the larger farms, getting us set up with the Department of Labor so that we can check all of our safety procedures and check over the farm and do things that we need to make sure that all of our employees are safe every day. Everybody goes home with all their fingers and toes. Then another big piece that NEDPA was founded on, of course, was the CAFO regulations and CAFO compliance, and the push we get from non-farming community about how we deal with our nutrients. And NEDPA's put together a water quality work group, and which was made up of ag and markets and Farm Bureau and other producers, and we push back on the DEC with when they come out with their regulations, what they think the CAFO permit should include. We can push back on that a little bit. That's been very helpful, I think, in allowing us to continue to farm the way we want to farm. So that's why I'm involved with NEDPA and why what I do. Here's Keith.
Yep. Hi, I'm Keith Kimball. I've got a dairy farm over near Geneseo. We milk about 850 cows. So I've been a NEDPA member. I've been on the board for 2 years now, and I've been a member for about 15 years. And I would just echo a lot of what John says. I think the nice thing about NEDPA is, often people wonder, what are you doing? And I think that's a great thing, because we don't really know. We know what they're doing, but there's a lot that's going on behind the scenes that just isn't right in front of us, and those issues are being dealt with. So Ashley is our new Member Services Director as of January this year. She's been a huge asset to the industry already. Tanya Vince-Lake is our Executive Director, and she's been on for 8 or 9 years now. So Tanya and Ashley's are maybe two employees, and they spend all their time just tackling the issues. So as the issues come to the forefront, they're heading them off. And Tanya has developed a lot of relationships over the years that are real valuable to us as an industry. She's got all the congressional leaders. She has access to Richard Ball, the commissioner. She's got access to. She's very involved with DEC. She's just got relationships. So any issue that comes up, she can address. She knows where to go and how to address it. And Ashley's been a huge help to her on those issues. I would say that every issue that comes up, we're paying attention to, and we don't always get the desired result, but we always have a voice, and I think that's important. Usually, we're able to at least bring it back to middle ground. So, I just want to share a little bit of what we did.
At this time, I'd like to introduce our moderator for today's panel. Eileen Jensen joined the New York Animal Ag Coalition in 2016 as their Director of Promotion and Outreach. She was born on her family's dairy farm in Yates County, where she became a lifelong advocate for agriculture. Her career has taken her around the country, giving her a wealth of experience in agricultural marketing and grassroots advocacy efforts. Eileen has spent time at marketing agencies in the Midwest, working for a variety of clients, including Case IH, Merck Animal Health, Monsanto, and United Soybean Board. Eileen also has experience as a high school agricultural educator and is dedicated to helping bridge the gap between farmer and consumer. Thank you, Eileen, for moderating our panel today.
Thanks, Ashley. First of all, I want to thank NEDPA again for asking NIAC, for asking myself to be here to join all of you today. And I also want to thank all of our panelists before we start, because these folks up here are prime examples of what we need to do in the industry, what they're doing on their farms and in their communities. And they're here to share that experience and what they're doing and why they're doing it and how they're doing this. Because we're here to talk today about consumers and that movable middle and how we work alongside these consumers in order to have them appreciate and understand what we're doing on our farms. So I want to start by just having the panelists introduce themselves, give a quick introduction of who they are, where they farm, and then we'll get started. And once we get started with the questions for the panelists, I want to make this engaging, just like we want to do with consumers on our farm. So if there's questions, throughout this discussion, by all means, just raise your hands and we'll come. So we'll start down here with Brad, just a quick introduction of who you are and where you farm.
My name is Brad McCauley. My farm is in Geneseo, New York. We run around 3,500 acres. We have 350 cows, and we work with 4 or 5 of our neighbors that have significantly more cows than us. You want to start over?
Yeah.
All right. So my name is Brad McCauley. Family farm. I'd be the 4th generation in Geneseo, New York. We have 350 cows, around 3,500 acres, and we work with 3 or 4 different other larger farms in our area on supplying feed and managing manure.
Hannah Warden with Willowcrest Farms in Clifton Springs, New York. We're 2nd generation on the farm. We have built 1,700, about 3,500 acres.
Hello, I'm Nathan Chittenden. We're about 3 hours due east of here, just south of Albany. We're milking close to 800 Jersey cows. I was just looking at the NEDPA logo there, and I was thinking that the loop of the P could probably have a Jersey head fitting through that. It looks too small for a cow that fit its head through, so certainly a Jersey would have its stuff. I think we joined NEDPA a couple years ago as part of their diversity program to add a little more minority breeds to the system.
Hi, I'm Lou Ann King. I'm from St. Lawrence County, way up north. I'm the 3rd generation on the actual location where I farm with my brother, another brother-in-law, my 2 nephews. And we have about 3,000 cows and getting close to 5,000 acres right now. And the boys run a separate heifer facility also. And we're a tag team because the 4th generation married into somebody who likes doing this better than me.
Hi, I'm Kelsey O'Shea. As Lou had said, I'm married to one of the owners on the farm, but my day job is with Cornell Cooperative Extension. Also, we're connecting to consumers quite a bit. But zero farm background, no generation prior to me on the farm. I grew up in San Diego, California, and now live on the farm full time. So a little bit different perspective, not growing up on a farm.
All right, well, thank you. And that actually leads perfectly into our first question, is talking about consumer demand and how the how consumers have changed what we do on our farm. So if we could maybe even start right here with Kelsey, is how has consumer demand or consumer options and what consumers need, how has that changed over the years, and maybe how that has impacted what you see being done on a farm?
So this is an interesting question for me. I've only really been exposed to the dairy industry for probably the last 10 or 12 years through college, but I will never forget after being exposed. The reason I think of it is I went home and grocery shopping with my mother, who has no experience on a farm, and immediately picked up milk and said, "Oh, this is great, it's BST free. I see this is really bad for you," and I just facepalmed. It was just a mortifying moment for me. But over the years, from what I've seen in the 10 to 15 year span, there's been a ton of changes really quickly. We're moving from either organic to RBST free and then other options for milk. But as far as what we're doing on the farm, it continues to just come back to quality across the board. Quality of the animals we have, the quality care we take of them, the quality feed that we're putting into them. That's been what I see tends to be the consumer trend, and then trying to know or understand, at least at some level, exactly what we're up to more and more.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. We are in an area where we're a ways from consumers. Our bigger promotion is really to our neighbors most of the time, but I don't think we've actually changed lots of what we do on the farm, other than getting out and trying to let people know what it is that we're doing. Farmers are always that scientific-based thing, and I think we relied on that science for so long that between Animal Ag and NEPA and I've always been involved with the Dairy Princess program, and so locally, and I think the message that we're sending out has changed more than what we actually do.
So you talk about location. So Nate lives in a totally different area than Kelsey and Luann. So maybe you can talk about the same thing: is how has consumers changed how you do on the farm, if they have?
Yeah, I mean, we're just a quick 2.5 hour drive. We're in New York City, but I think when we think about the Northeast, though, we're pretty close to a lot of metropolitan areas. I don't think even being up in as far north as you can get in New York without falling into Canada, you're still close to a lot of people. Those people aren't farming anymore. Every generation they're getting further removed. For years and years and years, we've always been worried about cheap, affordable food. When we go shopping, we're looking at our price tags as how we're buying things. But people are also wanting to know that their food is coming from a place they can trust. They're not buying something that they're going to feel sorry about later. So consumers, and we are all consumers, need to know that what we're doing on our dairy farm is something that they can be proud of in the products they're buying. And that's where we need to do a better job, whether it's on social media, whether it's in person with farm tours. We all need to work a little harder at showing transparency to our farm that we are doing things the right way, that when they buy a dairy product, they don't have to find that premium label that says everything that we all scoff at and just shake our heads at. Because, the labels that mean nothing, they don't have to worry about that anymore, because they know the products they're buying are good products and coming from a good place. We care for our animals, we're taking care of the land, we're doing things the right way.
So as we continue down the line, Hannah and Brad again live in totally different parts of the state than these first few folks do. So if you want to go ahead and talk about consumers and how they've changed what you do.
Yeah, one of the things I see with consumers is people have more money than they used to have, so got more disposable income, so price is kind of less a factor when they go to the grocery store. I had somebody at the gym talk to me, if he picks up something that says GMO free and something that says GMO, he's going to go with GMO free. He doesn't know what it is, but he's willing to spend that extra 50 cents to know that, all right, I'm better here. So people are making a lot more decisions based on that. So for us, us, I try to be interactive with some of the people near us, but I really like social media too, because then we can really reach people who are in the city, different places like that. And not everybody's going to take the time to come out to the farm, but you can reach people sitting, you know, at home in their sofa in their pajamas, scrolling through their phone.
So I'll agree with all the rest of these guys. The consumer wants to be more actively engaged or have some kind of perceived oversight into their food being produced, and we need to accommodate that. Because we are doing a good job, we need to be telling them that. Just because we don't live very close to a populace, you can bet that if we have an issue, they're going to hear about it. So we need to be just as good about telling all the good things we're doing, because sometimes we do make mistakes. Like the other said, there's more options for people we take advantage of in the grocery store, and they need to understand that they're all good options. That they're pretty much an equal playing field.
Okay. So as we're talking about consumers want to be more engaged, they have questions, there's a lot of confusion in the marketplace. What is the most common question or the number one question that you always get asked when you're talking with general consumers that are removed from the farm? And then how do you respond? What's that top question, and how do you respond to that? We can start down with Brad or Hannah.
The questions we get are more the questions that are perceived direct affecting the consumer or that they can visualize. So on the consumer end that affects them, they ask about BST, they ask about GMOs, and they ask about animal welfare, the tail dock. And I think we need to be sensitive to all that. We need to be able to actively talk about why we utilize the technology that we utilize. Also, manure application. We live about 3 miles from the lake, one of the Finger Lakes, and we just had a twilight tour where we talked about what we're doing to keep the manure out of the lake, out of water in general. And the cost that we go through to make sure that happens. And people don't understand that. They see what they can see, which is tankers, trucks, and manure being applied to ground that is close to the watershed or in the watershed. And I think explaining why we're doing stuff makes consumers feel better and answers those questions.
For me, anytime I do a farm tour or see people, they're always asking, why are the cows inside? Why aren't there any cows on pasture? We actually received a letter at our farm from somebody who drove by every day, and they wanted to know why the cows were inside. They didn't think it was right that the cows couldn't move around. So we got in contact with this person, and we had an open house on a farm nearby that she went to, and her attitude completely changed. It had been really impressive to me that she cared so much that she wrote this letter to us. But then when she saw what the barns look like inside, that they're freestyle barns, they're not at all what she thought, why we do what we do, it completely changed her attitude, and she was just in love with farming and had changed so much. So that's a lot of people's questions. They just don't understand why our cows are in the barns and why they're not in the pasture. They're used to seeing them in the pasture, and they're not. They're in the barns now.
I think we all, if we have any public face with our farm, I think we all deal with separation of cows and calves, pastures, things like that. And I think we've all gotten pretty good at answering those questions. Actually, I guess my most favorite question is because generally after you've had these people on your farm, they are on your team. Your local community is on your team. So the question I usually get is, how do we help dairy farmers? How do we, what can we do to help you stay in business? And that's a difficult question to answer. But I think it starts with everything we're hearing here, is that it starts local. You know, you have local politics, you have town boards, you have things that are very small scale that you can affect easily within your own general your own community. Make sure that there isn't some insane law that's passed that makes it impossible for a farmer to do his job. And it's simple things like that. You start small. What you can affect in your local community. You can't tell somebody to just go eat more cheese and buy more milk. That might be a little over the top. I think the general public is doing a really good job supporting the dairy industry with their purchasing. Dairy consumption is going up year over year over year. We should be proud of that we're getting the word out there, that people are putting it into their diets moreover. But it's more about what can they do behind the scenes that makes us able to do our job on the farm the right way without extra hurdles to jump over.
Any other popular questions you guys have heard in any of your interactions?
The cow calf thing, I think is a big one.
More recently, I was just in Atlanta doing a Fuel Up 360 event that had about 5 or 6 kids from each state who are very removed from farming, and also a cohort of NFL players and NFL cheerleaders. And I got asked this question more than once, and I really haven't dealt with it in New York State, and that they were asking me if our cows ever actually see people or if robots do all the work. And I am not sure where this notion is coming from exactly, other than the Chipotle video that came out a few years ago that was sort of pushing that image. So to explain to both the youth and also some of the adults who were asking me this question, it was actually, when we really think about it, almost every animal on our farm is touched, handled, seen a minimum of 4 times a day. By the time you chalk it all up, I mean, there are people who on a daily may not even see their kids that much during the day. Like how much time we actually spend with our cows, which is what they really wanted to understand, that it's not this completely removed emotional process where it's just basically like manufacturing a t-shirt. So it was nice to be able to have that's an easy one to answer because we do a pretty good job of that. And explaining also that the robotics that we do have on the farm don't necessarily serve as a full replacement for human contact. That there is still a human side to farming that will always to some degree.
So another common question that we often hear is talking about hutches. The common misconception is that those are veal calves. So having that conversation, but anyone else in the room, have you guys had, what's the number one question you guys get answered, or maybe a tough question that you've really had a tough time? Anybody have any examples? Anybody? We can think about it. So if you have any other questions too, feel free to raise your hand as we go through this. But as we talk about tough questions, challenging questions, a couple of the examples up here is get these folks to your farm. Get them to your farm, either a small tour, an influential tour, but what are some other strategies that you guys utilize in your local community or regionally or across the state that you see as successful? Some strategies that you use in order to engage the consumers that you feel are pretty beneficial to influencing them.
My brother and I, neither one of us, very comfortable with the whole public relations thing. He thought because I ran the Dairy Princess program that meant I was. It really wasn't. It really wasn't. It was more about I was helping to develop these youth, right, which was important to me, but it was for a good reason. So we did start newsletters about 6 years ago, and we are in a rural area. I mean, we send out 1,000 of them. That's it. That's what is in our township. But we also send them to all of our vendors, and we send them to anybody that we rent land from because they're not all within that same rural area. And initially, it was kind of an easy thing to do. It was, so here we are, and here's our family history, et cetera, et cetera. It's gotten now so that people are expecting it, because they want to know what's going on. We're on a dead-end road. Well, seasonal use. Yeah. Not quite dead end, but close enough. So nobody knows. They don't drive by us every day either. So there's always, talk around town and not always the right stuff. So locally we've done that. We support a lot of things. The music series in the park. Well, there's a Dairy Day in June for that. They do a special one for June, and we can take a calf and help and all that kind of stuff. So Kelsey just did a little display at the bank. The bank was highlighting local businesses, those kinds of things. So we are the biggest employer in town other than the school system. It was important that we do try to stay involved in a lot of things locally. We do have open houses. We've had some tours. Definitely always welcome a tour because it's way easier to show and tell than it is to just try to tell. But, more recently, Kelsey's gotten really active with the social media and the newsletters and those kinds of things.
Yeah. We're trying to continue to branch out in the social media side of things. We do have a Facebook page. We just started an Instagram page. Our greatest, I guess, bump we've seen from that was this lovely trend of hashtag Dairy Dance Off. So we happened to do a dairy dance off that actually people kind of liked. I guess one of my
We had good dancers.
Hey, thanks, no problem. So be sure to check it out. But it's actually, yeah, it's been really interesting. I mean, and what we kind of saw from that, I mean, we saw in a span of 4 days, we had an increase in followers on our page of 600 people in 4 days, which is nuts. I mean, those are 600 people that had either no idea we existed or no clue about what we did. In a matter of 4 days, we're connected with this whole new population of people. So we're continuing to try and develop those media outlets for those who can't, because of our rural area, right? So we're not really near a population base, but I can connect to 3,100 people in 10 minutes from wherever I am, just throwing up a Facebook post. So.
Any other strategies that you guys use to make connections?
I don't think we have to try to reinvent the wheel. I'm looking through the audience here. We have plenty of staff in other agencies that are waiting to help us do the right thing with our dairy. Whether it's NIAC helping us put that newsletter together, they have templates ready to go. If your farm wants to do a newsletter, you contact somebody at NIAC. You will have one next week, probably. Whether it's when American Dairy Association Northeast calls or DMI calls and asks you to do something, you say yes, sort out the details later, because you're going to gain a lot of experience yourself. You're going to become way more enthusiastic after that interaction with the general public, but it's also going to help them do their job of helping move good dairies out there to the public. Whether it's working with Cooperative Extension when they have tours coming through, whether it's your own co-op. I mean, I'm drinking a very delicious beverage from a great co-op. I'm very proud of my co-op, Agrimark. We have a Facebook page that gets 1,000 likes a day just by putting up a picture of a calf. And sometimes they'll put the same picture up 6 months later and those people are brand new on it, jumping on it. And our co-op has been very good at donating cheese servings to anything local charity. Any Agrimark member can call up and say, I've got this event, a fireman's parade, whatever it is, next week, and you'll have boxes of cheese coming in the mail to you to hand out for free to the public. I hope lots of other co-ops have followed that same example of using their name, the brand, to help back their farmers in the local communities.
One of the more unique ways that I found to connect with consumers is Twitter parties, which I had never heard of before. But basically, someone like American Dairy Association would host this party that they put questions out. So it's kind of, I guess, similar to what we're doing today, but on social media. So you're home on your sofa looking through, they ask a question. So, what do farmers do on Christmas? Like, what's Christmas like on your farm? And then you say, and it's really great because the people are interested in your answers, and I've never been told so many times how good of a job that I'm doing. They're always so excited about everything we're doing. Dairy farmers are great. It's just a great way to have one-on-one interaction with someone who lives, the other side of the country in a city. The other thing I really like is the Dairy Cattle Birthing Center that they have at the State Fair through NIAC. And that's a really great one because you don't have to have a dairy farm. You can be, one of those support people in the industry and go there and volunteer for a day or two and have real conversations with people that are there. The cows are calving, that gets the people there, and then we need the volunteers to be able to interact with people. And you can have really great conversations there because that cow starts calving and everyone gets there and stays there the whole time. It might take her 2 hours. They're not going anywhere, and then, you need somebody to talk to them.
One of the things we do in our community is called Farm Fest. We open up a local dairy farm for a Saturday and give tours, wagon rides generally, around the farm explaining the different parts of the farm and what they're doing there on a daily basis. How we take care of the animals, how we install the feed it out, everything. We get roughly 2,000 people. Most of them at our Farm Fest are probably, it's well over 75% of them are farm individuals. It's a great way to connect with the community. We bring them in, they see what we're doing, they see we care about the animals, we care about the environment, and we care about the product that we put on the plate. That we get nothing but good feedback out of that. Another thing I think is important is to be active within the community, be active on social media, just actively telling our story. You never know. 2 months later, I ran into a friend. There was a friend of my wife's on Facebook, and they started asking questions. I didn't know who this person was, but they started asking me questions about what we're doing. And some of the stuff that I said, I finally asked her, I was like, how do you know this about us? And she said, well, I just read through the comments. So I think it's important to keep in mind that if you're respectful and intelligent, you never know who's having those conversations, who you can reach out and touch. How do you know?
So as Brad mentioned, being active in the community, that's not just in agricultural world and ag organizations. So with Brad, prime example is involved in corn and soybean growers and NIAC and Farm Bureau, but I think also Chamber of Commerce. So Chamber of Commerce, planning boards, zoning boards are great tools to, great organizations and boards to become active in your local community, because then you have that influence on the other folks that are on that board when tough conversations come to fruition. So a few of you guys talked about social media, so let's talk social media, because it is it's still new to some folks, and some farms don't have that presence. Sometimes it can be kind of intimidating and scary. How do I get started? Where do I start? And some of these folks up here have really great social media presence. So I'm actually going to start with Nate on this one to talk about how you got started with social media. What do you do? I guess, one, how you got started, and two, how do you keep up with it?
I guess I started pretty much accidentally. We had an employee leave, so overnight I was starting at 3 o'clock covering for him, covering until we replaced the employee. So somewhere between 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock in the morning, you just get a little stir crazy when all you're doing is switching groups and checking on birthings and things. So I'd take a picture of something that happened on the farm, and I'd try to figure out something reasonably witty to say. And before I knew it, I realized that I had about 200 or 300 likes per day as people were waking up, and the very first post they saw on Facebook was whatever I had done that morning, because I was just a little bit ahead of their schedule. And I actually had our large animal vet on a herd check very upset that we had replaced that employee, because those really wanted Facebooks weren't waiting for her in the morning when she got up. But it kind of showed me that, you can expand it beyond your circle of friends. It's nice to have that instant confirmation from people that are going to like you no matter what you do. And that's great. It gets you feeling real positive. But it's those people that are behind the scenes that, may not even hit the like button, but they see it. And that's where you're really going to make your grounds. And that's why you got to really remember that the internet, unlike college, never forgets. The things that you can hopefully forget about that happen in college as you move on in life, the internet does not forget. So you have to keep a positive, pretend to be that salesman that just will not hear no, but will never, before they know it, you've actually said yes to them, because you're just that positive. You are not adversarial. If you can just keep that smile and just keep positive no matter how awful the person on the other side is being, and don't even engage those people if you can get away with it, you're going to make a big lasting impression with everybody else that's watching. There is an audience there. And the old saying about the thing about wrestling a pig in mud is that you both get dirty, but only one of you likes it. That's the same thing you got to think about. Yeah, you might think you've won that debate with that person on the internet, but you really haven't. You've probably turned off a lot of people because somewhere along the way you said something that they didn't agree with or they didn't like.
So how do you deal with that? If you have like that troll or activist that shows up on your page, what do you do?
The block button is a wonderful tool. You just don't even get started on it, because they don't have a goal. It's a difficult situation, because we all as farmers love to talk all day long, and we love to answer questions about our farm. It is interesting for us. We love to take that time. I have not met a farmer who does not take the time to talk to people. But we also need to realize that not every person asking you a question has true motive behind it of learning more. You got to figure out early on, is this person asking these questions because they truly want you to change their mind? Or are they just asking questions because they want to lead you down a path and waste your time? And 99% of the time, those people, you can sniff them out right away and just don't even deal with them. The sooner you block them, the sooner you don't even know they exist. You can even go better if you have a public one, you can hide their comment so nobody else ever even sees it. They think everybody sees it, but it's gone, it's missing from your page, and then you just move on with your life and you focus on positive people. You know, and you can't deal with it. And I'll be honest with you, the worst trolls I've ever had aren't animal rights activists, they're not vegans, they're not all the people that you want to say they are, they're other farmers. Take one picture of something on your farm that somebody can criticize. Oh, looks like you didn't scrape the barn early enough today. Or, hey, you better fix that water pipe. You know, another farmer is going to pick something out. Oh, that corn looks terrible. Why is it yellowing up at you? You know, God, what are you guys doing wrong? Other farmers are going to be the worst enemies to you on the internet, and you guys got to get over them too, because you're going to see them somewhere in person. You know, you're going to run into them. And you can't let them drag you down into getting angry about it. It's just part of life.
Some other social media thoughts, maybe how you got started or kind of how you keep it going. I know some folks like Hannah has an off-the-farm job and a family. So how do you keep up with it? How do you get started and how do you keep up with it?
So I guess I'll say right out, I feel like I should be keeping up with it more than I am. But one thing that's really helpful for me is knowing, you know, I can have a presence out there, I can fit it into my schedule, but I know there's other people out there like me. You know, we're all telling the story, so all the weight doesn't fall on my shoulders, and that helps me out. But I like tools like scheduling, so I can go take pictures and then schedule posts. I tend to stick with Facebook too. Another good thing is if you're just starting out, stick with one form of social media that you like, that you're familiar with, and go with that. So for me, that's Facebook. So then I can schedule posts. There's some other really great tools out there. There's a thing called Dairy Hub that creates content that you can share. So it's not all on me to come up with stuff. I can share things from other people, and that's kind of how I keep going.
Anything from you guys to add about social media?
So somebody in college, maybe her husband's, opened our page before he got out of college. So then somebody had to do something with it. That might have been me. And then, so for a while it was really, I was not very good at it. We were pretty successful with information about what we're doing today, kinds of things. People really liked to see local people. You know, they like the posts about, you know, Jerry turned 70. He's been here on the farm for every year since, you know, got out of college. You know, so locally that would, you know, that resonated. The biggest post we had before, I think, before the dairy dance-off was when we had a 12-tire tractor. And I was kind of like, oh, okay, well, there's this 12-tire. You know, it came in pieces and showed, you know. So, and I thought to myself, why is that? But I don't know. It didn't do a lot for selling milk, though, was the problem. So Kelsey's done a lot more with the analytical pieces that you can use and, you know, and trying to actually target some audiences.
So the big thing my husband says to me a lot is he's like, I wonder if this is well worth our time, if this is worth us putting a ton of energy into. How do I even know that it's doing anything? All the social media programs now have a full analytics program. So it's no different than if you're looking in Dairy Comp, if you're looking at anything like that. If you're looking for your analytics, they're out there. And you want to be able to gauge how successful you're being on social media. And we've had pretty good luck with not a whole lot of trolls coming out of the woodwork as far as Facebook's concerned. But Instagram's been other forms of social media are totally different. So the only thing I will say about that is that I have to applaud Luann for recognizing that she didn't want to do it anymore and then finding somebody else who would do it. So it's really, if you hate it or you don't like it, don't force yourself to do it. Find that person who will kind of love it and treat it like their pet project. Maybe with some guidance if need be, but it's no different than the need to transition dairy farms, you know, timely and smoothly and, you know, with purpose and intent. It's the same thing for whatever you're using, whether it be newsletter, social media, any of that kind of stuff.
I'm not even allowed to manage my own farm's Facebook page because they figured I'd take it off the rails. So my niece handles that. She keeps Facebook at PG. I go onto Twitter and it's bare knuckle fist fights, you know, and craziness. So, but usually it's good natured craziness.
So I will echo that statement of finding someone on the farm that really has an interest and really kind of wants to take that social media presence to the next level. I work with a couple farms that, the folks that are doing their social media are not partners, they're not owners, they're not even full-time employees. They feed calves every afternoon, but they realize that that's what people like that are on their Facebook page, are those calves and the life of the calf. So it's not just newborn calves, but it's kind of everything that goes along with that. So it's really finding that right person on the farm that really wants to take that to the next level. Any questions out here?
I'm gonna
Yeah, go ahead.
for a second. Also for new people who are interested in starting to do social media on the farm, American Dairy Association Northeast has what they call Dairy Fan Program, and so it's teaching people how to use social media, what are appropriate things to be putting on there, and how to create good messages. So that's a really great program for people who are new to doing this.
Actually, what introduced me to Twitter parties as well was that program, and I will echo what Hannah said is, I'm not very good on Twitter, but love Twitter parties because you get a lot of accolades during that interaction and engagement. So, any questions out here? We've got about 10 minutes left. We want to be cognizant of time, so we want to be sure to get your questions answered. Yeah.
So I want to try to frame a question that I think is in the industry. I'm going to try to frame a question that I think is in the industry a little bit is, what you guys are doing is excellent, so I'm not at all critical, but to me it kind of fits into the social issue of do we want farms or not. The question of consumer to me is the call I got from a millennial the other day at 103rd Avenue in Central Park saying to me, why did I just buy this half gallon of almond milk instead of a half gallon of milk? And we spent an hour discussing it, and it had nothing to do with how you handle your calves or anything else. It was marketing to that person. What I fear is these are great activities, but their zone of influence is still pretty small when you get into these bigger areas where milk is the biggest part of the consumption.
Any thoughts up there?
I might disagree with how small that zone is because it depends if you get the right target. I was pretty fortunate to be partnered up with DMI here in June, and they produced a bunch of 6 and 12 second advertising videos that lead into whatever else you're watching on YouTube, and I think they had close to 5 million hits in the first week, 5 million views. Sometimes just finding the right method to target the right consumers. As dairy farmers, we're probably not seeing the advertising that other people are seeing that says you should be okay with dairy, because they don't need to convince us. I'm pretty sure we're all pretty okay with dairy already, right? So that analytics piece they're talking about, let's not waste money trying to buy a Super Bowl ad to convince people to drink milk. Let's not waste our time and money trying to convince other dairy farmers how good a job we're doing and pat ourselves on the back. Let's focus our time and energy on those people that are on the tipping scale, that are health conscious, they have young children, they are truly concerned about what they're feeding their families. Let's target them. And it's a more strategic way of using our dollars and our promotional side to get better bang for our buck. But on top of that, we still have to respect that people have choices. My wife does not drink the same jug of milk in the refrigerator as I do because she's convinced that she doesn't want full-fat milk. And so I kind of have to respect that because at the end of the day, I would like a happy home. And she's still drinking milk. But that's okay because I also have a cousin who cannot tolerate lactose. So they were buying something else. And gosh darn it, you have dairy farmers turning their nose up at lactose-free milk like that's not the right beverage. And it's like, once again, I come back to us being our own worst enemy. But we still truly have to recognize that there are some people that no matter what you do are not going to put dairy into their diets in certain places. Okay, so they're drinking almond beverage because they are convinced through their fitness trainer, through their gym, whatever, that that's making the better smoothie for their workout regimen. And then they come home and they enjoy a thing of Greek yogurt or a slice of cheese because they really enjoy those dairy products. You know what? We're still winning. You know, so let's not focus on what we're losing in the market in the fluid milk so much, because there probably is going to be a continued trend of less fluid milk as people get busier. Unless more people can start figuring out how to bottle it like this and keep it ice cold no matter where I grab it, milk's going to be pretty hard to convince somebody is a better beverage choice on a 90-degree day than a thing of water. So let's focus on how else we can get dairy into people's diets and let them know that that's still a good choice, because I can get an ice cream cone right off the side, you know, whatever. You know, we can't focus on losing market share and what's happening, because there's going to be trends in consumers buying and selling, you know, up and down and everything.
So I'll chime in on this because you mentioned that really nice hot button word millennials and how annoying they are is basically the gist of what I just heard. So one thing that I've kind of realized from this whole process, and being one of those super annoying people myself, is that, yes, I realize that you're right. Our specific limited influence comes from the fact that millennials, you're right, are following influencers, whether they're on social media or whoever they are. So the best example of this I have is I sat in an airport and I met Matt Frazier, who is the men's CrossFit world champion, awesome guy, right? So we're sitting there, we're having a conversation because he says he's flying home to Vermont to buy a dairy farm. Anyways, he tells me when he's training full tilt, he's drinking a whole gallon of milk a day. Okay, so I post onto my Instagram story and all of our Instagram stories, hey, guess what? Matt Frazier drinks a gallon of milk a day when he trains. I got more messages about that Instagram story than I've had in like my entire experience on that social media platform, because they saw his name and then said, holy crap, you met this person and he engaged with you because you're a farmer. So I'm not to be too blunt about it, but utilizing other people's influence and power is the way to reach those people. So I am piggybacking on any social media post that I can with anything that they're going to consider an influencing idea or an influencer. Recognizing where I can piggyback off the power is, I think, the way to connect to that level of consumer.
And I would just have to say that I think over the years, all of our marketing dollars have been, you know, are spent as well as they can be spent, but there's so many things changing, it's really, really difficult to generically market. So what we're trying to do is change that from generically marketing milk to marketing the emotional connection to the farms. So.
Any other questions out here? All right, then I want to give the panelists one last advice, one last opportunity to offer a piece of advice or comments of, you know, how you guys can do more on your farms, you know, as you move forward in relation to that movable middle and connecting with consumers. So we start right here with Kelsey, kind of your final thought to anyone that wants to do more in their local community.
So whatever it is that whatever story you're telling, because I hear a lot of this about tell your story, make sure that whatever voice you're using is yours. So a lot of the story I hear on dairy farming is family-centered. You know, I feed my family this product. That's well and fine, but I am newly married with no kids. That's not a story I can tell to people or relate to kids that I have because I don't have them. So I relate to, you know, the things of the people in my millennial culture block, and so, you know, goofy hashtags or some other social media stuff. However you connect to people, do it with a way that you're comfortable and you feel authentic with it, because there's no right way. There's not only the message of this is a good, wholesome family product that we feed our family. There's a lot of ways to deliver this message and be okay with sharing it in whatever way feels right to you and that you feel like really reflects your views.
Yeah, and for me, it's it really has been find the person that can deliver that. I can take pictures. I get a lot of good pictures, and I just email them to her, and then all of a sudden they show up, right? And I struggled a lot. I tried to schedule stuff, you know, that kind of thing. But the way, you know, I was more of a preach to the choir person, so it just didn't work. So find the piece that you do like. I really like finding a picture of somebody covered in water while, you know, spray it on the chopper, right? And you know, a lot of people think, well, you know, what uses are some of those, but yeah, getting out and doing the piece that you're comfortable with. And the newsletter thing, you know, that part of it, we use that not just, we typically do a lot of employee recognition on that, as well as, you know, this is who we are, we're still here, you know, call us, come talk to us if you want to, kind of thing. Give people a way to connect to us. And then we also do a real educational piece on the back. Try to hit a different message every time.
Final thoughts from you, Nate?
Final thoughts. I never have final thoughts. I think, you know, I don't have to tell anybody here that it's been a hard couple of years in the dairy industry. There's nobody enjoying the milk check side of things. I think the public is already pretty aware of what we're going through, and they're pretty aware that we work hard every day. We don't need to martyr ourselves publicly and tell them how hard we're working, because all we're doing is trying to tell them that they're not working as hard as we are. And you want to get people to not go in line with you, tell them that they're not doing something as good as you. You know, pictures are worth 1,000 words. Like, we just do what we do. They know how hard we work, and they'll respect us for it. We don't need to trumpet about how hard we work. We don't need to start making up. You know, the newest hashtag that came out of Canada last week was "You live because I farm." Seriously, there's a surplus dairy right now, so I could go out of business tomorrow and people are going to be doing just fine. So let's stop pretending that everybody's going to die if we stop doing our jobs, okay? You know, let's just be proud of what we do and the way we're doing it. Let's stop pretending that we're waking up every morning like on a mission from God that we're feeding the world today. You know, we're doing it because we love to do it, and let's be proud of that, and that should be about good enough.
So there was a survey recently of adults asking if they would want to talk to a dairy farmer, and 50% of adults said they want to talk to a dairy farmer, specifically dairy farming. So the people out there want to hear our story. Don't be afraid to share it. Don't feel like you're imposing on on people. You know, bring up the subject, find the people who want to have that conversation, and have that conversation.
The keys for me are you got to stay active within the community, within your industry. That'll keep you relevant. And then you got to be accessible. And part of being accessible is being genuine and being positive, like you said. People don't want to hear a complainer. You got to put a good message out there. And people will engage with you more if you are positive.
All right. So I guess my final thought is ask for help when and if you need it. There are organizations, you know, NEPA, NIAC, American Dairy Association, the co-ops, whoever it may be that you feel most comfortable with, you know, working alongside with, ask for help. And if they don't know, you know, how to help you, how to start, they might know somebody that knows somebody. So this world of ag is really small, and we're all in this together. Like Nate said, we can't be against each other, that we really are all in this together, and it's your story to tell and to share. It's not mine, it's not your neighbor's. So it's really kind of time to step up and you know, and share that own story of yours in your local community. So once again, I want to thank the panelists for joining us today, and thanking Ashley and John and Keith and NEPA for allowing us to share this information. So thanks for coming, guys.